Welcome to Safe Space with Concrete Rose. I do these videos because I want to leave them behind after I leave this earth. And maybe somebody will find them and kind of help them get through some transitions and a few stumbles on their journey, because I know that I'm not by myself. And since I know that the things I've been through, I'm not by myself, I definitely want to help other people get past. I do. Today is November 17th, 2020. I had a few thoughts run across my head, and I wanted to speak on them because this is a part of my therapy as well. I wanted to talk about conviction and parents. I'm eventually going to have a lot of videos at some point, and I'm going to talk about different situations that transpired in my life. All parties that I speak of are human people. They're real. I'm not hiding no names, because if you wasn't ashamed to do it, then you don't feel no type of way. You feel me? Some things I will keep disclosed at the request of others, but some situations I'm definitely going to say who is who. Make no mistake. I got a question though. What do you do with a parent, an elder parent, who still holds, I don't know if it's hate, but what do you do when you deal with a parent who has become an elder, 60s, 70s, and they still attempt to make their kid or kids out to be the villains? Usually when on cartoons and in TV and stuff like that, people, when you see enemies, it's usually, somebody who don't agree with whatever you stand for. It's crazy to have your biggest enemy your mother. You understand what I'm saying? Like, my mother, so I've had 3 people this week come and say to me, Isha, you not like what your mama told us. Like, she said this thing, but you don't even act like that. Said the second person come and say, you ain't nothing like what your mama told us. And then the very last young lady said, when I first met you, you was nothing like what your mama said. Now I want y'all to understand, I keep saying my mother, because that's probably one of my biggest enemies, and I never understood why. Like, how could you turn on your own kid? I never turned on my mother. I ain't even really put a business out there. We had a series of situations that transpired when I was like about 14 to 15. I need to put some lotion on my neck. When I was about 14 to 15, we had to move to Florida. My mother had left and went to Florida and just kind of left me and my sister in an apartment in Chicago on the west side on Lake Central. And my grandmama kept asking us where my mother was, and I kept telling her she was at work, but my mother found out, my mama wasn't even in the state. And so at this point, she had went down, once I found out, she went down to Fort Lauderdale, Florida, because this guy she was messing with, Alfred, which became my stepfather, he got burnt. Some type of radiated cap or something exploded in his face and burnt him. And so my mother left her kids behind. I know I had to be about maybe, 12, 13. And my sister's 5 years older than me. She left us in an apartment by herself. We still function. Went to school every day. People didn't even know that. My mother wasn't even in the house. I got caught driving my mama's car. She had a 78 Catalina. And the neighborhood drug dealer, Lucky, caught me and asked me, where was my mama at? I really think he had a crush on my mama, but that's another story. When I told him shit I ain't know, he asked me how I get to Dominic's. Dominic's is it was in Oak Park. So at the time, I don't know if it's still there or not, but so you know, I hurried and got the shit, and I left. You feel me? Make a long story short, my granny found out she had Blue Shield, Blue Cross, or Blue Shield, Red Cross. One of them, however it go. She had them look for my mom. Found out my mom was in Fort Lauderdale. Hurricane Andrew had hit. So my mother had reached out and told my mama she needed to get her ass back to Chicago. Come get these kids. My sister decided she didn't want to go with my mama. And my mother told me that my father didn't want me, so I had to go to Fort Lauderdale with her. I get to Fort Lauderdale. It's this man there, which is Alfred. Now, a little bit about Alfred. Alfred and my mama been fucking around on and off since they was 13 to 15. He done been to the service, done had a bunch of kids. I guess was married at some point and some more shit. Cookie done had, she hadn't got married, some more shit. Fucked that up, some more shit. Met my daddy. You know, so through this whole time of his life and her life, they still, you know, reaching out and fucking with each other through all of this shit. You understand what I'm saying? So I guess when he got to Florida, he wanted to just make it official, and, you know, they became a couple. And it hurt a lot of people I know it hurt his kids. Me and my sister didn't really give a fuck because she had a cushion, which was her grandmother, in Kentucky and Lexington. But I had to deal with the brunt. So I'm in this household. I don't really know dude. I see him. Shit, at one point I thought his kids and me was cousins because I done been over to his mom's house. But I ain't thinking nothing of it. I'm a kid. You feel me? So they make it solidified. And, you know, at that point, from what I understood, he was doing drugs. And he told me that my mom was doing them too. Or whatever. And I didn't identify the characteristics of somebody on drugs at that time because, one, I never really paid attention to it because I was kind of like in my own world in Chicago. I swam for a couple of parks. You know what I'm saying? My dad stayed around where the park was, one of the parks where I swam in. So, you know, I had friends and I had outside life. So I really ain't too much care about shit my mama had going on. Only a few times where my mother, she ain't had no job. She'll write a note and send it down to the store and get packaged meat and shit. That's like the times when she didn't have a job. And even with that, I guess I couldn't do that right because I remember going to get a crate and it had a meat package in there. She got mad at me because I didn't get the cigarettes. You feel me? Like, I'm a fucking kid, bro. Why the fuck would you send me to the store for some cigarettes? We don't got no food. But you mad at me about some Benson Hedges and menthol? Probably one of the reasons why I never smoked cigarettes. Because I just felt like, man, they was really a part of my mother's evilness. You feel me? They stink. Anyway, so I get down to Florida, and they got a 2-bedroom apartment in Sandal Grove in Lauderhill. Sandal Grove is off of 441 in Lauderhill. So I moved in. They gave me the rules and shit. I couldn't really go nowhere. I couldn't go outside. It wasn't no park around. I ain't know nobody. They put me in school. I was about 13. They made me work. And I started working at law in the mall. And I also started working for my stepfather. He worked at this place called Reaxo, Southern Electric. And so he had some friends in there named Guy and his wife. So Guy and his wife gave me a job doing clerical upstairs. And I also worked at law as well. My parents made me, they took my checks and made me pay the rent, pay part of the rent, you know? And it was times where when I worked at the mall, the mall was far from where I lived. My mother would not come and get me blatantly, and I had to walk a few times. And it was just a change in my mother, and I was just like, she never really act like this. I've seen her in some abusive relationships. She was in an abusive relationship with this man named OT. OT was younger than her, and He was younger and he was abusive. I watched him whoop my mama ass a few times. He would lock me and my sister in the back of the house. And he had these keys, this skeleton key, and with these old locks. The house was 4827 West Gladys. He would lock the door and whoop my mama ass. And, after a while, my sister, she's so weak in the mind, she just accepted the shit, and I just couldn't. Like, come on, man. I'm like, we got to do something. Like, I don't know what he doing that they could be the way that she is, but, you know what I'm saying? Like, man, I just was like, damn, I don't know what the fuck going on with my mama. So in my mind, I'm like, shit, we should poison him and make him die and go away, and we won't have to deal with him no more. My sister was all for mixing it up, but she wasn't for the plan. But she, you know what I'm saying? I don't know, I guess that was her way of trying to cope with me with it, you feel me? My sister's always been a yes girl. I've always been, no, I'm not. If it don't look, no, I'm not. If it don't look right. I had to tap into my emotions at a really young age because my mother and sister would do stuff that would make me have to use my brain. Like one time, I can remember, my sister told me that my daddy died. I was little, and I cried. And my mama was laughing. They was both laughing. They thought it was funny to watch me cry. You feel me? Behind the fact that they told me my daddy was dead. And once I heard them laugh, and then they told me that they was just playing after I done cried, that kind of like changed my soul, my view at them, because y'all two really played a dirty game. So me being me, my mother used to put the laundry bag in the pantry in the hallway at 4827. I caught myself getting them back, so I pissed on the laundry clothes and left it in the hallway. And my mother was like, what is that smell? I pissed all on her clothes. All the clothes that was in the dirty clothes bag, I pissed on. Because you motherfuckers, man, y'all not going to keep on playing with me. For real. It seemed like my life, the color of life became vibrant when I turned 7. Because that's when we woke up in that house on 4827 West Gladys. My mother she was ironing clothes. She was like, Isha Nicole, get up, it's your birthday. I was laying on this big-ass pillow in the back of this, in this room. I had turned 7. And fast forward to OT, he used to do stuff like no lights, no food for a week. When we come home, couldn't turn the light on, couldn't eat. So I was telling my sister, steal shit from school and put in your book bag. So when we get in here at home, we'll have some food. And me being a stronger sister, I even took a few ass whoopings. I stole apples out the refrigerator in the house because we needed to eat, you feel me? And my mother just allowed this shit. And so, my perspective started changing because I'm like, no lights, no food. I remember one time we found some fucking M&Ms in the room in the dark. And my sister was like, hold on, I'm going to break it up. She ate the motherfucking M&Ms and I was left hungry. That let me know right then and there that my sister is not on my side. Long time ago, I learned. A long time ago. I've always felt like it was her, and then a big space, and then me. I don't know what transpired with my mother and my father, but whatever transpired, she has always taken it out on me. My father told me that my mother was very irresponsible. She didn't pay bills. He told me that what made him leave was he had to give my mother the rent like 3 times in a month, and my mother refused to pay the rent. And then the rent people came, landlord came, and they put everything out. And my father said he got his shit. He said him and my brother Derek pulled up. He got his shit and left me on the curb with my mama. And I didn't learn till my granny died that my daddy said my mother was blackmailing him or trying to get money from him or some shit, I don't know. And he was like, that's why he wasn't bothered with her no more, because my mother was irresponsible and some more shit. But of course, that's my mother, so I have to still deal with it, whatever he say. And it's always been a back and forth. My mother always say fucked up shit about my dad, and my dad say fucked up shit. And so, because I live with my mother, and my mother is my parental unit, she my truth, she my believing, she my understanding, I'm going to believe everything my mother say. Until something different. Well, a lot of that truth didn't hit for me until after my granny died. But we're going to go back to Florida. So, when we was living in Florida, I was staying with my mom and them. And so he had a sister that named Merlin. And Auntie Merlin, she's always been a foul auntie to me. Even though, they were, my mother and Auntie Merlin, they knew each other. They don't really talk to each other this day because a lot of shit transpired in front of Auntie Merlin that my mother saw. A lot of shit transpired in front of Auntie Merlin that made her feel different about my mother, because even Auntie Merlin at one point was like, I don't know what's wrong with your mother, and I don't know what's wrong with my brother, but the way they doing you, he don't even do his own kids like that. That type of shit. Feel me? So, one night, some years had transpired. I was just going through the motions. I was depressed. I was sad. My mother never even went to try to give me counseling. She never even tried to. Every time I tried to express how I felt to my mom, she would turn it into some other shit. Like, it was like how I felt never mattered. And if I expressed how I felt, she would get vindictive. And so, Auntie Merlin started feeling some type of way about the way my mom and my stepfather was treating me. So she would pay me to watch my cousin Emmanuel. And, that was my outlet. She let me know that I'm here for you. Just know that. Despite whatever the fuck is about to happen to go on. So over the years, it was a fight. And I started becoming a little rebellious because I was unhappy and all of this shit. And my mother, she wasn't a mother when I was in Florida. She was somebody else. It was like I was their roommate and they didn't really want me there. That's how I felt. So one time Auntie Merlin asked me to come watch Emmanuel, and I did. Well, I had to met a guy named Eddie from high school. And he actually stayed right across the street in apartments. But, I don't know, I kind of latched on to him, and he kind of became my outlet, to the point where sometimes I would sneak out at night. Because the rules was I had to go in my room and stay in there. So a lot of times, when they go in their room and shut their door, I go in my room and shut my door. I lock it until they tell me I unlock the door. But majority of the time, I would be in my room. So when they would go to sleep, I would leave and go to Eddie's house. Sometimes I wouldn't even fucking come home. I would go to school from his house. They never noticed it. That's just to show you how much they ain't even really want me there. Motherfucker didn't even really check. Now, Auntie Merlin, on the other hand, she wouldn't let me go on nothing. If I was on bullshit, she'll call it. She paid attention to me. You feel me? And that's why she still get the respect she do now. So, I went over to Auntie Merlin's house. Eddie called me and was like, we're going to a party in Miami. Do you want to go? I'm like, yeah, pick me up. I jump out the window on Auntie Merlin's on the side of her house. She stay in Royal Palm. I jumped out the window. I had my nightgown that my mom had bought and jumped the gate. Jumped in the car. We had to turn around. When we was turning around, I see Auntie Merlin locking the window. I'm like, damn, I'm busted. I go to I say, y'all, let me out. I'm going to deal with my ass whooping now because I don't want to deal with it when I come back. You feel me? So I go back to the door. Open the door, and Auntie Merlin said, you are in trouble. She was like, what if something would have happened to you? Your mom and your daddy would have killed me. I would have responsible. Da, 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 da. I understood that. She was like, I got to call them. So she called them. They said they on their way. I'm not knowing. They get there, and my mother, she's like, what is wrong with you? Why would you do this? Da, 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 da. It's crazy because she'll ask me why, but then when I give her an answer, she'll go crazy, you feel me? Like, she never listens to me. Not one time. Even to this day, I have to constantly repeat myself to her. It's like that part of me don't matter to her. As long as she fussing or whatever, I don't know. So, so boom, Alfred hit me in the face. Boom, I fall back on the bed. My mama jump on me and she choking me and I kick off of me. You feel me? So, Alfred went and snatched the cord out of the iron. And my Uncle Gus told him, you can't do that. That's not your child in the state of Florida. So Alfred told him, shut the fuck up. Go in his room. So Uncle Gus, goddamn, he said, y'all gonna have to come up out of here with that shit. So they whooping me and beating me and shit. And, so Auntie Merlin was like, y'all gonna have to get out. And so they whooped me Outside, they whooped me into the car, which is a Chrysler LeBaron. They whooped me in the car, in the parking lot of Sandra Grove. They whooped me on the elevator. They whooped me when I got in the house. They whooped me when I got in the room. They were smacking and punching me and shit, hit me in my jaw. After I had a belt made out of bullets. So after a while, my mother stopped whooping me, and we had them made it to my room. My windows was open. Alfred was in there disciplining me. My mom was standing in the door watching, telling him what to do. You feel me? So he steady, you know what I'm saying, smacking me and all that shit, man. I'm getting dizzy. I'm passing out. And I hear security say, now we stayed on the 4th floor. We stayed in K402. That's upstairs in the K building. So I hear security say, we need to get the police and security over here. It sound like they trying to kill a child up in K402.